Hi, today on episode 318 of your favorite daily podcast, A Couple of Things, a podcast about things. I talk with my friend Feranmi about work, food, TV shows, and more importantly, trusting God in the face of anxiety. I'm sure you enjoy this conversation. Happy listening. Hi, welcome to today's episode of the podcast. I have one of my friends here that I made here in the Netherlands, but I'll let him tell the story. Feranmi, welcome to the podcast. Please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. I'm Feranmi Moreno. I am an insights person. That's what I do for work.
Did you say
And
insights person?
yes, insights person. That's
Okay.
how I like to put it. Because when I try to explain what I do to people, it usually takes like about 1 minute of fumbling about, and then I'll just settle on like two sentences and like, okay, yes, just take this one. This describes me best. But outside of work, I am me, man. God, I don't even know who I am. So I haven't actually put this into thought before. I mean, of
Mm,
course, I rehearse for interviews, but who am I actually? Oh, assignments. Okay, yes,
wow.
I'm
This
Feranmi.
is the, this is why I should go on the podcast. We ask the philosophical questions that get you thinking deep about your life.
We haven't even started. I'm lost. God help me.
I'm screaming. Okay. So, is there anything else you want to add?
Yes, I'm a Christian. I love to travel. I love food. Still struggling with that, but yeah, I do really love food, and yeah, I love to watch movies. Yeah, that's the
Okay.
last one. Yeah.
Movies. Okay. So, but before we go for that, this insights person, what does it mean?
Okay, so I've actually had many jobs over my short career, but currently what I do is I work with colleagues who do market research to try to understand consumers a little bit better so that they can know exactly what products to make and how to communicate to consumers through adverts, right? But what
Hmm.
I do specifically is I look at what they currently do, their current ways of working, and I try to transform them to make them more um, digitally aligned, right?
Hmm.
Basically three words: better, faster, cheaper. So I look at current ways of working. How can I make it better? How can I make it faster? How can I make it cheaper to do? And
Hmm.
right.
That sounds interesting because I'm hearing parts of like things similar to what I did when I was working full time, which is taking getting insights and using that to decide what should we build.
Hmm,
That's very interesting.
yeah.
If you don't mind sharing, what's your actual job title?
So it's called New Data and Solutions Lead.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is what I love about job titles because they're so like I've never heard that before. But what you described is similar to what I
What you
used
were
to
doing
do,
before, I
and
know,
it was
right?
a my job title were very different from that. All
I
right.
think I think I think when they were crafting mine, they're just like, okay, what's he gonna be doing? Well, he's gonna bring in new data. Okay, what else? New solutions. What else? I don't know. Okay, let's just use those two, new data and solutions. Yeah, we have it. Great. Let's move on. I literally feel like that's how it came up.
Yeah, I really find job titles very interesting, but that's a topic for another podcast. Anyway, so you said you like oh no, we'll come back to that. But second question, how do we know each other? How did we meet?
Hmm. I think I can't remember the specific moment, but all evidence points to the games, right? The
That sounds
games
right.
group. Yeah, and because I feel like that's the that's the place where our spheres would have like clashed,
Connected, yeah.
connected the initial time, and then I think we just kind of built a rapport from there.
Mm,
And up until the time I got an invite to your exclusive New Year's party,
mm.
which was the high points for me last year, because getting on that invite list is tough, guys. You really, it's like the creme de la creme. of
Yeah.
Nigerians living in the Netherlands, you know.
Please, oh, please, please, please.
If you haven't been to Ladi and Nana's New Year party, you're a JJC in the
I'm
Netherlands. Like
screaming.
you don't have gravitas. You
Please,
need to do more.
dear.
You need to double your hustle. You know.
Please, dear. All right, before I go into what's on your mind today, let's talk about. I want to dig deeper a bit into. You said movies and food, in your intro as to things that you really enjoy.
Hmm.
Do you, for the food part, is it the eating or the making part or both?
Also, I used to love eating food. Now I also enjoy making food because I feel like starting from when I went for my master's, right, I started to kind of like make a lot of food myself. And then that just led me to more experimentation. And so I've kind of grown to like food. Also, I work in a food company, so I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
knowledge that then helps me with experimenting. So yeah, I do enjoy eating, and I also enjoy making food. I actually
Well,
make it to the office every day.
oh, you make food that you take to the office every day.
Mhm.
You really enjoy making food.
I'm known for my little box at lunchtime.
Okay, I'm going to off camera. I want to know what lunchbox you use because I've been looking for a lunchbox and I have very specific specs that I want. But we
Oh
can take
man,
that off camera.
okay, okay, okay.
um, but what is your favorite food that you've made for yourself? Something that you made and you're like, wow, my
Hmm.
hands are blessed.
I made pepper soup myself. As basic, I don't know if that sounds basic, but I actually made pepper soup myself. I was craving it, and then I got the ingredients and I made it, and I was impressed. I'm like,
Mm-mm.
wow, I'm making pepper soup. What's next? Ikokore or something more complex. I don't know.
Ikokore lolo.
I mean, I've gotten to pepper soup level. How many people can say they've gotten to pepper soup level?
No, but the funny thing is that pepper soup seems so
It
simple
is.
to
It should
make,
be.
and it should be, but not everybody gets pepper soup right.
Yes.
Because there is a level of pepper that like some people do too much pepper, some people you can't taste any other flavors except the
Mhm.
pepper. So like when you make pepper soup, it is the right hit of pepper,
Yep.
and you can taste the flavors. So it's not just pepper, you can taste the scent leaf and the all the things inside. You can actually taste that pepper soup spice in it. That's a different skill. So it's not that simple.
Yeah, I think we need a regulatory agency for pepper soup.
Not a regulatory agency. Okay, but what's the best thing you've eaten that you didn't make? Say my birthday cake. I'm joking. I'm joking.
best time I ate that I didn't make. Wow. I mean, I don't know. I'm very simple. I'm very easy to please. I'd say maybe pounded yam and egusi at a certain party that I was like, that stuff was banging. And I was like, yes.
All right.
Oh,
For
yes. No,
movies.
I remember
Okay.
shaman
All right.
soup in Uyo.
Oh,
Fisherman
okay.
soup in Uyo. Yeah, that was special. That was
Hmm.
special. I really like that.
Oh, I had fisherman soup once, but it was in Lagos. It was this restaurant called Echoes of Calabar, I think. God, it was delicious. It was like it
Echoes.
was amazing.
You had the echoes. I went to the source. Like I went right to Uyo to the
Please,
source.
please, please. Sorry, oh, sorry. Okay, so for movies, what is your favorite genre?
Oh, I love period pieces.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I do love
so
period pieces.
so my interest in movies fundamentally comes from a place where I am very very interested in stories. Listening to stories, telling stories. Stories fascinate me, right? So my criteria for a good movie is, can it take me somewhere I've not been before, right?
Mm.
And period pieces do exactly that. They take you to a different time.
Yeah.
They take you to like a different set of societal cultures. Like sometimes you can picture yourself there. Sometimes you do not want to be there. Different So yeah, I think that's just my criteria. So aside from period pieces, I also kind of like detective thrillers, specifically
Oh yeah,
British detective thrillers.
British shows are the best.
Yes, there's something about the grit, the realness about British shows that Americans try, but they just don't get. I just think there's a sheen from Hollywood that is over almost all of their movies. But the Brits just, get on the ground. It's like, ah, yes. And it helps because I've lived in London, so I can relate to say, well, I can actually see myself in this kind of situation. It's very, very relatable, and yeah, I love British shows. I love them.
Yeah, I think British shows are actually really funny. Especially the funny ones, they're actually funny.
Hmm.
It's funny in a way. They're not like, obviously they are trying to make you laugh because
Yeah,
it's a comedy show, but the humor is not
it's not subtle
obviously trying to make
too.
you laugh.
Yes,
They're not like American shows are trying to get the laugh out of you. They're like,
bring that laugh
pushing
here.
it. But the British shows are just naturally funny. I don't know how to explain it. I love them.
It's a
And
very
then
subtle,
yeah,
light touch.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I feel
very
like
true.
the people in British shows look like real people. People in American
Exactly.
shows look like they all just stepped out of a magazine
They look
cover.
glammed up.
But people in British shows look like normal everyday people that you could
and their,
see,
and their
like someone that you could just
behavior,
see
their
next door.
attitudes. Have you seen Luther, for example?
No, I haven't, but I've heard good things.
Luther looks is a detective, but he doesn't look all put together like what you'd see in a typical American detective movie. Luther, he drinks at night like he's your regular detective who has tons of problem and is just struggling to get through life. And then he has to go to work every day and show up and solve crimes. Like every time you see him, it looks like he's been through a lot. He's going through a lot,
I'm
but still he
screaming.
has
That's
to
been
step
through
up.
a lot.
Like yeah, that's what I love about it. We need to get back to portraying real people.
Yeah. Is Luther your favorite detective show?
Huh. Hmm. No, no, no. It's a Line of Duty. It's a series, a British series, Line of Duty.
I
I
think
love
I've heard of it.
Line of Duty. I love that show. That's my favorite.
I think my favorite detective show, funny enough, is a an American one, even though I just said that American shows are but it's Monk. And I just started rewatching it. Maybe that's why it's like my favorite. I feel like my favorite TV shows are always changing based on recency effects, recency bias. But I've been
Mm-hmm.
rewatching Monk, and it's so great. Although, like in season 3, they did a very weird thing where, because the whole Monk, he has some. I think he has like OCD and some other compulsive
Mm-hmm.
disorders. But you can tell that this is a smart person
Yep.
and very like sensible person. But then in season 3, they did this weird thing where they made him into a bumbling fool. And I'm like, this is they overplayed the OC. Like they made I don't know how to explain it, but it went from, oh, this is a guy who has some psychological disorders
Mm.
but can still function somewhat,
Yeah, high
to
functioning. Yeah.
this is just a fool, this is a clown. They made him into a clown in season 3, and I hated it. But I think they fixed up in season 4 because he's no longer. Like, I don't know what changed and who changed it, but it was very annoying in season 3. Like, very very annoying.
They swapped out the writers because
But yeah, they fixed up. I mean, well, partway through season 3, they actually fixed up partway through. But season 4, we're back on track fully. But yeah, I really enjoy Monk.
I feel the same way about Luther though.
Mm,
Luther started on a high note, and then I think they tried to make a movie out of it. So the
mm.
last movie was, I don't know. I found it hard to relate to. I feel like some Americans probably saw, oh, this show is doing well. Let's pour some money in it and take
Mm.
creative control, and then they just messed it up. But yeah, I have nothing against Americans.
Although my actual favorite show of all time is also an American show, and it's Parks and Recreation, because it's also really hilarious. But yeah,
Mm. I would say I can't decide. Maybe I need to have favorite shows per genre, right?
yeah.
Because for period pieces, I would say, uh, what's this show? Oh my god.
Is it Downtown Abbey?
Yes, 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 yes,
I
yes.
haven't seen it. Everybody talks about it. It's on
What?
my to watch list.
See, you need to take a semester off your masters if that's
I should take a
possible.
semester off my,
Yes,
my 1 year masters
yes.
to
Take
watch
ask
Downtown
them for a
Abbey.
semester and binge Downton Abbey, binge Line of Duty. Binge all these top-notch shows. Sherlock.
I really do enjoy period pieces, actually.
Yeah, na
They're
prep
really
is
fun.
at top.
Especially the movies. I like the movies. The thing is, like, I don't like watching series because they require too much time commitment. So
True.
I'm very careful about when I start a series. But I watch movies. So yeah. If they make a movie of Downtown Abbey, I'll watch a movie. But
Yeah.
and it's really long. Isn't there like 8 seasons or something? And they're
It's
like,
worth it. I promise you, it's worth it. Like it's such a beautiful story. It's like when I started watching it, I was bored. Like you wouldn't catch me watching. At some point in my life, you couldn't catch me watching drama. Like,
yeah.
and then I just got hooked, and I'm like, what is this?
No, I
And
love a good drama, to be
yeah, nah,
honest.
drama is top. I love drama now. I love drama now 'cause it's more realistic than a lot of other genres like thrillers, action. Action is whack. I
I
don't even watch
actually,
action
yeah, I
anymore.
don't, yeah, I think especially now, all the action is overdone. So I
Yeah.
don't like it. Yeah. Okay, moving on from this topic. What is on your mind?
What is on my mind? What is on my mind? Anxiety. I've been
Hmm.
thinking about anxiety a lot lately.
Okay.
Yeah. So uh, I think this year was a very eventful year for me because um, tomorrow makes it exactly 1 year I started my current role.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And then about 5 months in, on a very eventful Tuesday morning, we get into the office and all of us see a mail on our Outlook, and it says that we're restructuring
Ooh.
and there's going to be a massive layoff.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. And they tell us that about 6,000 people will be laid off globally. Yeah. And
Wow.
eventually, when we did the maths, it turns out because Netherlands is like the second most important office
Mm.
globally, the impact to the Netherlands is about 600 people,
Wow.
which means that one in every third person is leaving. So if you have 3 people in a room, you know that one of you will not be here by next year. So it was a very, very, very um, weird period for me. And to make matters worse, the Netherlands does this thing where if you get like a permanent role, they first give you like a 1 year contract
Yeah.
before they give you like
Yeah,
a
it's really common here
five
to
years
do that.
contract. Yeah, they do that a lot. So
Although some companies just give you a permanent one straight off, but it's very rare from what I've
yeah, that's
heard.
very rare. So just my luck that the restructuring is happening in my first year when I'm on that provisional contract. And I mean, from a business
Yeah.
point of view, if I was a permanent contract and they wanted to lay me off, they had to pay me severance package. And
Yeah.
the Netherlands has really tough labor laws, so the severance package would be heavy,
Yeah.
right? But I'm on my 1 year contract, which means that they can just say, when your contract is done, bye bye. They don't need to pay me off, literally.
Yeah, that is true. Oh wow.
So even though, like, even if my performance was top, because I was on a 1 year contract, they could just see me off without any impact. It was a
Any
matter of
yeah.
money, literally.
Because it's ended, it's ended.
Exactly. So that meant that my job was at risk, right? And yeah, so I mean, of course, there were like rumors who's leaving, who's staying,
Yeah, of course.
right? I mean, weirdly, I was calm, right? And then on the day that we're supposed to be informed by a VP called, so everyone got invites. Everyone that was supposed to be impacted got invites. So
Mm.
for the D day was like, did you get an invite? Do you have a meeting? Do you have a meeting? I'm like, I have a meeting. I got an invite. I thought everyone got an invite. Apparently, not everyone got an invite.
Oh.
So I go into the meeting room. My VP sits there. HR sits there in case so that VP does not say nonsense. And then they tell me that I have to go at the end of my contract. I'm like, that's a
Oh.
bummer. And I just say, thank you for the opportunity. I mean, obviously you took a chance on me, but this was good, right? And then I leave. Like it was like very very short. I think I had the shortest meeting out of everyone. It was so short that after I went in, after a while, my boss came to wait for me outside. My land manager, she waited for me outside so that she could talk to me afterwards.
Mm.
And then she was waiting, waiting, waiting until the next person came into the room. Then she called me and she was like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm on the fourth floor eating ice cream." And she's like, "Ah, you just entered." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, it was really short." And she comes to meet me and she's like, "I've observed you all through this while, and you seem very unbothered. You seem very not affected. Like, what's up? I'm even more affected. I'm more scared for you than you are for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?" And so I told her, it comes from a place of submission, right? And,
Mm.
and it comes from, the strength of my faith. Because if the relationship I have with God is that, I believe God is my father, like my
Mm.
actual father.
Yeah.
And so if he sees me struggling, a father who sees a child struggling is always going to come in to help. And
Mhm.
so so I believe him so strongly that I know that he's going to come through for me, and that wherever I am is where I'm supposed to be,
Mm.
right? And that just kind of hit her really strongly. And so she asked me a couple more questions. She's Buddhist because she's from Thailand. So this was like I think, her deepest conversation on Christianity that she's ever had. So she was just very
Yeah.
interested in my faith, and we just had that was our conversation over lunch for that day, and that was it. And then fast forward like 1.5 months later, my colleague goes on extended sick leave, and so they're short staffed, but
Yeah.
I'm also supposed to be on my way out. So my boss is now saying, okay, maybe you can temporarily cover up for this person. So she says she's going to propose that to HR.
Mm.
Right? So she goes to HR, she sets up a meeting, and she gets on the call to try to convince HR before she can say anything. HR is the one telling her, "I think we should extend this guy's contract by
Contracts.
six
Yeah.
months." Right? And she's shocked. She's like, "I didn't even say anything." She gets off the call, pulls me into a room. She's like, "Your God is really looking out for you."
I love that.
I didn't even say anything. And okay, I was like, yeah, I just smiled and then I left. And then I was about going home on that day. And then my VP walks past me and he taps me and he smiles. I say, "Oh, Lynn, that's my boss. She has news for you." And then Lynn comes smiling ear to ear. She's like, "It's been approved." Oh my God, it's been approved. I've never seen anything move so fast. In one day, from conceptualization to approval of extension of contract. Like, it has never happened before. And I'm like, miracle. Miracle number
That
one.
is amazing.
Right? So my contract gets extended, but I'm not looking for 6 months extension. So I'm still on my knees, like, God, you need to sort this because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what this are doing. What 6 months extension in the grand scheme of things? Of course, I'm grateful, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
And then I go to the internal board website. I see different open roles, none on my level. I see one that is above me. I'm like, I sent to my boss, "Do you think I can do this role?" She's like, "They don't do
Mm.
double promotion here. Oh." You can
Yeah.
try. And then I apply for the role. I get a message from the hiring manager. She says, "Oh, your CV looks interesting. Let's have a coffee chat." We have a coffee chat. It went great. One of my best interviews ever. But then later, about 2 weeks later, she messages me. There's a particular attribute that I need for this role, but you don't have that another person has.
Hmm.
But I was really impressed with you. Like, she wrote a long love letter, right? And then the next week, she says that she messages me again, and she's like, "You know what? I recommended you to someone else in my team because I was really impressed with you." And she said you have also already applied for the role that is open on her team. Me, that I was just shooting application up and down. She said I've already applied for the role. Okay, now she, so that when they do the interview, they will talk to me. I'm like, okay, I'll prepare for the interview. The interview did not come for like 1 month after.
Hmm.
And then I did the interview. This lady brings up another boss, another manager that I've worked with, but he seems very unfriendly, to be honest. And then this guy was, can you believe this guy was talking to my line manager to get insights about me and using those as questions in the interview
What?
for me? So he would say, like, um, what's what do you think about his performance so far? What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? And then he'll use that
Mm.
information to come and start asking me
Yeah.
questions because he was asking me tough questions, like really tough questions. I did my best, and that was it. Then the week after, I got a. Of course, I also did like a case study. A case study with very little time that I even had to take time off work to focus on and finalize. And
Yeah.
then next week, the manager sends an invite, next round information. I'm like, thank God I made it to the next round. I get on the call. She was like, I've heard all I need to hear. You got the job.
Wow.
I'm like, what? And it's a senior role. Like, it seems very basic, right? But
Yeah.
this is the trajectory, right? I resigned from my job in Nigeria. I moved to the Netherlands. I did not get work for a while. I eventually got this work in November 2023. April 2024, I was told there's going to be restructuring. It was
Yeah.
finalized by June. I was leaving the company by November this year,
Yeah.
right? And then tomorrow is going to be my 1 year anniversary in this company, and I've already been promoted,
That's amazing.
right? Because that's the actual timeline if you zoom out and
Yeah.
take out all of the details. And it's just crazy because God really be doing God be doing stuff. Like God be answering prayers, guys. Guys, like
Yeah.
God answers prayers. Like anything you really, 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 really need or you're struggling with, just talk to God about it.
Mm.
He's still in that business, guys. And I feel like that's confidence that, this is not the first time. This is not the first time I've depended on God and He came through for me. Like I have testimonies for days. I went on my first international trip to London and I visited Imperial College and I was like, I like this place. I'm gonna come here for a master's. I go home, apply. I don't have the money. They ask for 10% as, down payment, like UK universities usually do. I pay, I take out all of my savings, use it to get the admission, like my down payment.
Yeah.
I take out all of my savings for that. I still don't know where the money is going to come from. And then I get a Chevening scholarship, fully funded with stipend for living wage stipend. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty confident in the power of God to do miracles and do stuff. So yeah, it's just recurring. So that confidence is just helping me deal with anxiety. So I
Yeah, I
feel,
wanted to go back to anxiety because, like, in that scenario, like, because I've also heard similar stories from lots of people. And currently, like, right now, a few of my friends have gone through layoffs where,
mm,
like, some people were actually laid off, some people they're still waiting because you know how here it takes a really long time
yeah,
for layoffs to actually be
to take effect.
finalized.
Yeah.
So some people are still in that place of we don't even know who's getting laid off and who is remaining and all of those things. And I think that although, like, in your story, it's really interesting that, like, how it worked out where you actually didn't get laid off, but for some other people they actually do get laid off even with
Hmm.
this this, like, certain, like, this knowledge of God has got me,
Yeah.
and you could still get laid off,
Yeah.
but the
Absolutely.
important thing is, like, one of my friends, she got laid off from her job, but before the she's also here, but before the whole timeline finished, she got
Hmm.
another job in the same company, similar to what you have said,
Yeah.
right? But in this case, she actually got laid off because she was already on a permanent contract, and it was like a really long time. But then she got another job in the same company, and but there are people who they just get laid off. There's no
Hmm.
other job waiting for them, whether in the company or outside. And it's in that place where the anxiety really starts to kick in,
Yeah.
right? Because it's very like, oh, you can say, oh no, God has got me, when you still have your job and it's all
Mm.
going.
Mm.
But when you now get laid off, what then?
What the? I think they're absolutely right. It's very easy to say, God can do it, God has done it, where you still have a job, or where you're still going to the office, you're still getting paid.
Mm,
But at a point where, things don't turn out the way you think they should turn out, or the way you think God should intervene for you, which is why I would go back to saying, Dealing with anxiety has to come with total submission, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety is basically a result of us, you know, reacting to not having enough control over the way our lives are going, right? And it may seem counterintuitive that the way to deal with not having enough control is to release more control,
Yeah.
right? But actually, that is what works, especially when it comes to dealing with God, right? God wants to be the determinant of your direction, of the rate at which you go, where you're gonna go. You need to leave all of those concerns. Like you need to get to a place in your devotional life, in your life, where you're like, okay, God, this is the deal. I don't know where you're taking me to. I don't know where you want me to be at every point in time, but I'm going to trust that wherever I end up is going to be the best place for me,
Yeah.
right? You need to get to that point in your life. When I think of God directing people's lives, I don't think of it like a map where you can see the start point, you can see the end point. I think of it more like in navigation, like where it's like turn left here, and then you
Yeah.
turn left, turn right here, and then you turn right. You know the map is gonna get you to your
Ooh,
eventual destination,
I saw a
but
post yesterday that I'm reminded by what you're saying. I'm going to look for it while you're talking. Keep talking.
yeah, so like you don't need to you don't just trust God. You don't need to have the full picture.
Hmm.
You just need to trust that this person that is leading you is going to take you to where you're going to be. And so sometimes what you want may not necessarily be on the route that God wants you to take, right? But you need to trust that He's going to put you where He wants you to be, and that is the best place you could ever be at every point in time. It's not the easiest thing to do. I'll be
It
very honest
is
about it.
not, yeah.
Submission is pretty hard. I can tell you that for free, but I promise you, it works. Like it
Do
really,
you know,
really
like
works.
something that you said that I want to like re-emphasize is that thing where you said like your idea of how you think God should intervene,
Mhm.
because there's two things, because on the one hand it's fine to feel that disappointment, because sometimes, especially as Christians, we think that, oh, because we believe God and we trust God, we shouldn't feel disappointed when things
Yeah,
don't go how we want them to. But that's not true. It's
that's
okay
not
to
true.
feel that disappointment. The only thing is that you should not let that disappointment become the thing that guides you.
Mm.
Allow yourself feel those emotions, but then submit those emotions to God.
I
Like
mean,
admit the feeling, like, okay, I expected this to happen. This was my expectation of how God will
mhm,
intervene. God did not intervene like this, and I'm disappointed and I'm sad. And I don't want to talk to you. But then after, you still talk to God, because like David said, though he slays me, where would I go to? I have nowhere
mhm,
else I want to go to.
mhm.
This is where we're staying. We're not going anywhere. Right. But like, yeah, so it's very important, because like there are a couple of things that you know the things you experience in life, and in those moments it feels like, oh, God hasn't shown up, or he wasn't there because it didn't play out how you thought it would,
Mm.
or the way you expected it to. And it's because sometimes we take our own image of what is good and project that upon what
Anytime.
God's plans
Yeah.
are. And I like what you said about how, like, once you start that journey of, because submission to God is a lifelong journey. I don't think that there's
Mhm.
anybody that will never ever ever struggle with that, right? But like, once we start on that journey and constantly rely on the grace of God to do that, we're able to trust. And I've talked about this on a previous episode with someone else. I'll find it and link to it in the show notes. We're able to trust that no matter what the circumstance is, God is able to work it out for good, for his glory at the end of the day. But I found the post. So it's like Google Maps doesn't say, hey, you're going the wrong way when you take a wrong turn. It simply
Mm.
adjusts your route and tells you the next turn you should take. And just like that, maybe you're not off track in life, Perhaps your route just got redirected and it might take longer and further to get there.
to get to
But
your
guess what?
destination.
You're still on track. Sometimes you arrive at your destination, other times you get a new direction. Keep moving, you're getting there. Now,
Yeah.
this isn't in the context of like Christianity and faith in God and whatever, but there's something that this is a better illustration of how I think about how God directs my life, which I've spoken about here. Because I've often said that my thing is that I trust that even if I make a misstep, God is able to reroute me.
Mm.
Like, and not even if it's a willing mistake. Like
Yeah. Pig-headed.
if I'm pig-headed, it's my fault. If I come in repentance to God, God is able to reroute me.
Yeah.
If
That
it's a
is it.
mistake where it was like, oh, I maybe it wasn't a pig-headed, disobedience thing. It was just like a misstep, or I don't know
Hmm.
what word to use,
An
but like an
unintentional misstep.
exactly, like an
Yeah.
unintentional thing, an unknown thing. God is able to reroute me. So whatever the situation is, God is able to reroute me. And it's not a thing of, oh, because of that grace, I will then now be doing rubbish with my life. Because at the end of the day, is me I'm making my journey longer than it should be. So, but the point is I can trust in the
Mm.
power of God and the goodness of God to reroute me, to get me back on his track,
Hmm.
because he's good. And as long as I am in him and with him and coming back to him repentantly, he can realign me. But yeah.
I think that confidence is also kind of deeply seated in the identity of God that we have. So, who is God to you?
Mm,
You know, He's God
mm,
your
mm,
Father.
mm.
Is He a judge that you see who is going to punish and reward people?
Yeah.
And what is your relationship with Him? So, if you think of Him as my Father, like Daddy, Daddy, I messed up. I'm sorry. Like, you know how an earthly father will not kind of, I mean, a good earthly father would not disown you. I feel like that clarity is needed, but a good earthly father would not disown you if you make mistakes. They may be upset, but they will, help you get through that mess, right? If you get arrested, your parents won't just leave you to die. They may feel disappointed at you, but they'll come and bail you out. They'll pay for a good lawyer to represent you.
Yeah.
How much more your heavenly Father,
Mm.
who has already demonstrated that love in many, many ways, right? He is able to come through for you. So even if you have, taken the wrong direction, he can literally just, reroute you and get you back on track as long as you come back to him for help.
Exactly. It's like with the prodigal son. If the prodigal son did not wake up, I'm like, oh, what am I doing here?
Hmm.
I'm going to go back to my father and repent, basically. If he didn't
Yeah.
do that, he would have still just been there in the muck with the pigs and starving.
They did not
But
even when they came back, they did not even give him just normal food. They gave him party rice.
they did party for him. Do you get? So like, so if you don't, there's no point in wallowing in your mistakes.
Yeah.
Like there's no point in like beating yourself up like, oh, I made a mistake, woe is me. Because I think that, I don't know if I've mentioned this somewhere before, but I think that part of that is pride, is actually pride, where you're like just constantly, oh, I've done the worst things, God can
Mm.
never take me back, blah blah blah. I'm like, there's nothing you've done. Please, what have you done?
What have you done
Kilo
that people have
Tishe,
not
what
done?
have you done?
Like
Like,
sometimes I read stories in the Bible. Like the story of Jonah, as popular as it is, it's not really about the fish. It's about God's loving nature, such that the reason why Jonah did not want to go and preach is because these people were so evil.
to them, and he was like, I
He,
know you, you are
he
too
was
good,
they
you
were so
will
evil.
forgive
He
these
wanted
people.
God to destroy them. Like these people are evil. And when God forgave them, he was so angry at God. Like this is
He was
why I
like, I
ran
knew
away.
it.
I knew you. I knew you. You will forgive them. Imagine people who have, I mean, the atrocities of those days, sacrificing children, killing
Mm,
people, like, terrible things. And yet God was able to forgive them,
because they
right?
repented.
So, what have we done? Like, what have you done?
No, I think I've actually said this, that Paul was killing Christians before he encountered Jesus. Peter denied Jesus. So what have you done? No, what have you done?
Not
that God
what have you
cannot
done? The
cannot
thief on the
accept you.
cross. You know how bad the thief you have to be for them to crucify you. And then
Right.
sharp, sharp, shortcuts to heaven. Like, what have you done? What have you done?
And that's the point of what Jesus did, right? Jesus
Mm,
became that person that, you know, he did the work and went through a lot of pain and toil and struggle. Like every time I think about, because I just finished reading the Gospels in my Bible in a year, and every time I read Jesus' journey to the cross and I read the all the other things that really explain, because in the Bible you just read that, oh, and he was nailed to the cross, and then he, you know, he was crucified, there was a thorn on his head, and then
mm,
they buried him. But when you read the things that really break down what crucifixion actually looks
yeah,
like,
yeah.
the things that happened before and after. The reason why Simon of Cyrene had to carry Jesus' cross for him was because he could not carry it, because they
You
had
could not carry the cross
beaten
again.
him to like you, to the point where his body was sore, he was weak. The reason why Jesus was talking small, small, 3 words, 5 words, was because he was suffocating on the cross. Like when you actually visualize all the things that Jesus went through for you will not be there doing as if there's something that you have done that cannot be forgiven.
Yeah.
Because Jesus went through all of that so you can be forgiven of everything.
And I think it was double punishment because think about it. Pilate wanted to beat Jesus to the point where the Jews would be like, okay,
It's
okay, I
okay, it's
suffered
okay.
enough. So he did that, and then the Jews were still like, no, we want him to die. So he suffered the beating, the substitutionary beating, and still suffered the crucifixion.
So like there's nothing that you want to do or that you
But
have
there's nothing
done
that you have done. There's no way you have deviated from the path that
that
God
you
has
can
set
be.
you
I,
on
I really
that you
like the
cannot be
story of
brought
the
back
prodigal
home.
son, honestly,
Yeah.
because it's just an image of like the moment you decide that, wait, what am I doing? I'm going back to God. I'm repenting of what, because the prodigal son was like, ah, I've offended you. I'm sorry. I will just be a servant. It's okay. You don't have to bring me back as your child, but just allow me back inside this place. And the father was like, what are you talking about, bro? Please come and sit down and eat rice.
You know the parable I love more than the prodigal son
Mm.
is the parable of the lost sheep. Because
Oh
prodigal
yeah.
son is like, okay, let me go back to my father. Lost sheep is like, no, Jesus is leaving the others to come and look for you. And that is exactly the picture. Bible says, I don't know, God is Jesus is knocking. Like he's not waiting for you to take action.
Hmm.
He's currently taking
He's
action to
constantly
draw
always
close to
knocking
you,
for you.
always knocking, always looking for you.
Mm.
And when the shepherd found the lost sheep, what did he do? He threw a party.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of the other sheep must have been the meat for that party. Like he threw a party to celebrate
Feranmi,
one sheep.
please.
He had hundreds. He still had 99, but he went to find one, and when he came back, he threw a party. Like that is how valuable, you know, everyone is to God. And so, taking that back home to say that there's no way you feel you must have left the covering of God or left God's direction or plan for your life that you cannot
Mm.
find a way back to Him. And the thing you need to do is stop trying to gain more control of your life, but actually release control to
Let
God
it go.
and let
Let it go to
Him
God.
guide. That is the best way to deal with
Yeah.
anxiety.
I think I like, honestly, because Jesus often said things about like, why are you worried?
Hmm.
What are you worried about? If I am taking care of
The
the
sparrows,
birds and the flowers
flowers.
in the garden, that you just grass, not even flower, grass. Like, what are you afraid of? And the thing I think also about, like, with fear, with anxiety and all these things, is like you're actually just making up stories in your head about what could
Scenarios.
happen.
Yeah.
You're making up scenarios and you are burdening yourself with the scenarios you made up in your head. Nothing has happened yet.
Hmm.
So why are you thinking about the worst possible scenario? And also, even if, quote unquote, the worst thing you can think about actually happens, like, again, what do you believe about God?
Mm.
Do you believe that God is bigger than this worst thing that can happen? Or do you think that he's not? And
Yeah.
it's also a question of, do you trust God with your life, or do you not? Do you truly
Yeah.
believe that all things work together for good for those who love God and are called to his purpose, or do you
For we
not?
know.
Because
For we
if
know.
for we know, we
Like
know. Do
na
you
normal thing. Na
know?
normal thing. We know.
Do
Like
you know?
we know. It
So,
means it's not something that it's not a prayer. It's not something that is saying it is
God,
going to work
please let it
together.
work
Like
out
this
for
is
good.
something that we know.
We know this is what God does. He just does it. Because, like it or not, you are a part of God's plan, and He's not going to rubbish your life. So even if it's like, oh, there's this thing hanging over your head that feels like it's the end of the world, it's not the end of the world. I had to ask myself this question a lot when I'm afraid of something going bad, or
Mm,
when I think that, oh, this the worst outcome is going to happen. I ask myself, do I believe that God, my life is in God's hand, and do I believe that all things work together for my good because my life is in God's hand and I am called according to His purpose? And if my answer to those questions is still yes, then I'm like, there's nothing for me to be afraid of. If my answer to one of the questions is no, then I need to find out why my
mm.
answer is no, and tackle that with God, wrestle it with God until my answer is yes.
The
Because,
question
like
is
I
not
said in the
adding up yet.
beginning, like I said when we started this part of the conversation, is that, like, what do you believe,
Yeah.
and what is your image of God? Because
Yeah.
God's image is constant, but what we believe about Him changes.
Yeah.
And until what we believe about Him is aligned with who He is, we're always going to have these times where we feel like we're in the pits. Because, like, I've been there. I cannot lie and say I've not been there. But these are the questions and the conversations that I had, and the prayers that I prayed, that helped me actually see that, oh, okay, like, God is bigger than all of these things. This is, yes, it feels like my world is crashing down.
Yeah.
Yes, it feels like I cannot move on. Yes, it feels like I'm stuck. But do I believe that God can work all of this out for good? And not what I think is good,
Yeah.
what is actually good. That's the important part.
And I think it's important to say that, we're by no means trivializing whatever you're currently going through. Like
Oh, by no
things are
means.
bad. Things can be bad.
Mm-hmm.
I even remember an example where, John the Baptist, who baptized Jesus, who heard God speak, who told everyone that this
Everybody
is
that
the
this
Lord.
is. Mm-hmm.
When he was in prison and they were about to cut off his head, he
He
now started
said
sending people to Jesus, like,
that,
wait, are
is it
you
really
sure
you?
you are is it really you? Like, I hope we have not made mistake. And that is what situations can do to you. They
Yeah.
can shake you, they can shake your faith. Like, your situation is legit. We understand, but what we're just trying to say is, even though it doesn't seem like that's the solution,
Yeah.
you need to go back to your understanding of God, your belief in God and His power to change that situation. Right? You need to go
And
back to the
I don't even
fundamentals.
think it's also even just to change the situation, but it's also that you will not go into shambles. Like, you will not
Yeah,
break, you will not
yeah.
scatter.
There's always
Because,
hope.
to be honest, sometimes you just have to go through the situation. You have to go
It's
through
a
it.
training.
It's not going to immediately change in the way that you think. Because throughout scripture, there are two ways that God dealt with things. Either He immediately brought you out, or you will go through it and come out on the other side
Hmm.
with Him. So there are times where Jesus stopped the storm, silenced the storm, and there are times where He will walk through the storm.
Mm,
So, because in when Jesus asked Peter to come on, when Peter said, "If it is you, bid me to come," the storm, there was still a storm.
yeah.
The storm didn't hadn't stopped. Right. So, like, the thing is, do you it's like Jesus prayed. One of my favorite things that I discovered since I actually started reading my Bible myself was that Jesus actually has prayed for all of us that our faith will not fail.
Mm,
And Jesus prayed for you that your faith will not fail. So your faith will not fail. Even though it feels like your faith is breaking, it's not going to fail because Jesus has prayed for you. And if I'm sorry, Jesus prayed for you, the prayer is already answered. Like, your faith will not fail. And that's something that, because the thing that Satan tries to get from you through all of these challenges and difficulties and things is your faith.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to take away. But Jesus has already given you to show. Like he has given you Joker, last card, check
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
already. He said that your faith will not fail. He has prayed for you that your faith will not fail.
Like
Jesus
even if it
literally
looks
said,
like your faith has failed, because he prayed for Peter and Peter still denied him.
exactly.
So it can even look like okay, my faith don't finally come out. It's still your faith. It cannot fail.
Your faith cannot fail. Like when I read this thing, because I read it again recently when I was doing my Bible in a year, and it just hits me that like actually Jesus has already, like, what, my faith can't actually fail
It's
because
interceding.
Jesus has made it so. He has declared it so. He has prayed for me that my faith will not fail. And literally in that prayer, I said that I'm not asking you to take them out of the world because this world is a messy place.
Yeah. We're
If
not
the
promised
point
a good world.
was, if the point was, oh, you're saved and then you just immediately go to heaven, would have gone since. But Jesus prayed that will be kept in this messy world, will be kept,
Hmm.
and I will endure till the end. And so that's what the point is. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's difficult. And we're not talking about people who have never experienced trouble and troublesome events.
Mm.
I've talked about it on this podcast how the last 2 years, 2021, 2022, 2020, even parts of 2023, were some of the most difficult years of my life. That there were times where I could not talk about 2021, 2022, and 2023 without crying. Like I will start talking and I will just start crying. So it's not that, oh, my life is all sunshine and rosy and flower. Although my life is sunshine because I'm sunshine, but anyway, that's by the way. It's not that I've never experienced pain and disappointment. Moti je disappointment. Pa.
Go chop am with egusi, drink water.
It's like breakfast. It's not that I haven't experienced trauma and if it's even, oh god, let's not even get into it. But the point is, I have I have, like, through all of these things seen that God is with me
Mm,
even when it feels like it's not. And that's why one story I really also like in the Bible is the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego story, because they said that even if we die, if we know that God can save us, but even if He does not save us, and I was telling God that when I read that thing, every time I read it, I always pray that, like, I want to, I want my faith
I
to
want this
get to
faith.
this point
Yes.
that is like, even if you remove me from this situation, I'm still not going to deny that you are God and you are good.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were saying. That even if we die in this fire,
Mhm.
our God is still God. We're not, like, we. I don't care. God is still God. So it's not, God is not like the godness of God, for lack of a better word, is not based on what I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Word. Preach. Preach, Pastor Ade.
Please, 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 dear.
It's a matter of time, don't worry.
Matter of time that words, please, oh, they did not call me to pulpits.
And teacher
That's
and
not
call.
where.
They're still teachers, don't worry.
Moving on. Moving on. But yeah, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, to be honest, you said it all. Just, you know, remember the Lord in the day of trouble, because
Mm,
He's the one that has the power to deliver you. Just look up
yeah.
to Him because that's where all power comes from. You
Mm,
know, you can try quick fixes, but they always leave you craving more. There's only one solution that stands sure, and that's in God.
that
So
is
yeah,
in God.
yeah.
Yeah. And invitation to join this side of life where you can trust in God and know that whatever, you are secure in God. no matter what. Invitation, open invitation. Just just have a conversation with him. Anyway,
Mm,
it doesn't really matter where you are. Just be like, what are these people talking about? I want to know more about that. And you
yeah.
can also reach out to me if you have questions more specifically. My email is somewhere on this YouTube page.
And I mean, even if you don't believe, it's something I like to challenge to say that you can, in your heart, challenge God that, if you are real, reveal yourself to me. I think it's something that you can do. I think it's something you can do. Like,
Yeah.
if you are real, like people say you are, prove it to me. Show me.
Mm,
That's a
yeah.
challenge. So, like, even if you don't believe, it doesn't take anything from you,
And I have seen
really.
lots of people who have talked about how they did that. And because God actually did say that if you seek me, you will find me.
Mhm.
That's a There's a promise. So yeah. Whew. I feel I feel like we've talked about why I here. I feel
Yeah.
like yeah, this was good. This was really good. And a good reminder for me actually, because we're facing some things ahead. And this was a good reminder.
Don't
But yeah.
worry. Never lose
Cool.
faith. Never
Yeah.
lose faith.
And it's so important because like sometimes like these things you have to often be reminded often and often
Mm.
and often because it's so easy to forget. So yeah. Thanks, Feranmi. This is great.
Welcome. I'll send my invoice.
You send invoice. You send it to Master Jesus. Send it to Master Jesus. he,
Yeah.
he can pay it.
Yeah,
He
we
already
I'd
paid
already
it,
paid.
actually.
Ooh, mm,
Word, word, word.
word, word.
Do you want people to find you and connect with you somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wow. Okay, you can find me on Instagram, right? But I mean, you may not recognize me there because I only post travel pictures there. But you can definitely drop me a message on Instagram. I do respond. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Um, I respond less often, but eventually I respond.
Response guaranteed. Response time, not so much. All right, I'll put the links to the Instagram and LinkedIn in the show notes as well as the episode. There's an episode that I think also touches on some of the things talked about here, and it's the one I did with Pastor Forms about is what I'm going through an attack of Satan or a test from God, and we talk about that as well. But yeah, thank you so much for me for coming on, and thank you for listening.
It was a
Bye.
pleasure. Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of A Couple of Things. If there was anything you found interesting or insightful or you enjoyed the episode, please do share to someone or multiple people. Like, leave a comment, and definitely do subscribe and all the nice things. Bye.